Time now for Trick or Treat, sponsored by GEICO. It's GEICO-ween. Get a GEICO quote, and you could save so much, it's scary. All right, here's what we're going to do with our guys. We're going to play Trick or Treat. We have some topics, and they'll go head-to-head, and they'll tell us whether this is trick or treat. First up, Jamie, the Chiefs, who will have to play without Pat Mahomes. We're not exactly sure for how long, but they will have a winning record with Matt Moore as their quarterback. We've seen other teams, Saints and Panthers, not miss a beat.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they're going to have a losing record with Matt Moore. I mean, you start with this week's game, even though it's at home against Green Bay. It's a bad offensive line. They can't run the ball. The defense played really well last week against the Broncos, but for the most part, they've struggled, certainly against the run. And now you got a hot Aaron Rodgers coming in. There's a loss right there. I think they're going to lose to Minnesota the following week. We'll see if Mahomes comes back after that, but I think they're going to be 0-2 out of the gate. I don't trust Matt Moore to lead this offense the way that Patrick Mahomes does. Clearly, that's a downgrade. And so, yes, I think they're going to have a losing record under Matt Moore.
Well, certainly the schedule isn't favorable right out of the gate because they got Green Bay coming in. Who, Pete, you picked to win the Super Bowl. So, trick or treat, Kansas City winning record without Mahomes.
How many games does he get? That's the question. Does he get 4? Does he get 3? We don't know. If he gets 4 or 5, I think he has a winning record. If he gets 2, then no. I agree with Jamie. I think it's going to be Green Bay beats him this week in Arrowhead, and then I think he has problems with Minnesota. So if it's only 2, no. If it's 3, 4, 5, then maybe. But right now, I'd say no.
All right. I love when I can get Pete taking on the master on a fantasy question. So the next trick or treat, Jacoby Brissett, who had 4 touchdowns, career-high 320-plus yards last week. He is a must-start fantasy quarterback. Pete, trick or treat?
Oh, that's definitely a treat. And I called it this week, and Jamie will attest to that. He sat right next to me. I said, Jacoby Brissett will have a big day against the Texans, and he had an even bigger day than I thought. I called it for 302. He had over 304. So, yes, he is a must-start fantasy quarterback right now.
Yep, he nailed it. He absolutely did. And I think, you look at the way he's been playing all season long. It's just been one of those things that's been building towards something. The offensive line for the Colts, this was my whole argument from the beginning of the season, was that when Andrew Luck retired, everybody was like, is it going to be a terrible situation for this team? No, that line is fantastic. He has all the time in the world. He has a star receiver in T.Y. Hilton. He has very good parts when you talk about the tight ends, the running backs out of the backfield. And now we're seeing guys develop like Zach Pascal, who had a big game against the Texans. And so now he gets the Broncos, must-start fantasy quarterback with all the guys that are falling apart with Mahomes, now Matt Ryan, with Ben Roethlisberger, Cam Newton, Drew Brees, all these guys that have suffered injuries. Brissett has elevated himself to become a starter, and that will continue for the rest of the way.
All right, next up, Andrew Luck abruptly retired. Jacoby Brissett took over. There have been whispers, and we've had people off the record, sort of high-rate tell us that maybe Cam Newton's the type of guy that could walk away at the end of the year. But right now he's injured, and right now Kyle Allen's playing well. So trick or treat, Cam Newton will not start again for the Panthers this season. Pete?
That's a trick. I don't believe that at all. I think he's back practicing. He's going to start working. It might take him a couple weeks. But if Cam Newton's healthy, he's the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, and he should be the starting quarterback. This guy's been an MVP. Now, he has to be healthy. The Cam Newton we saw early in the season wasn't healthy. If he's healthy, he can make the throws, he can take the hits, he should be the starting quarterback, and he will be.
I agree with Pete. I think the one thing that we're going to find out with the Panthers is they're going to allow him to get back to full strength. I think it's going to be one of those things where they're going to kind of hide it a little bit. And so as soon as Kyle Allen starts to struggle, has a bad game, maybe has a bad half, they put Cam back in there. But I don't think it's all of a sudden Cam comes back to practice and he's right back in the starting lineup. I think it's going to be one of those things where Cam's not ready. We're waiting to see Cam at 100%. The foot's not right. Because Kyle Allen has deserved the right to hold this job, but he is not going to take them to the next level, take them to become a Super Bowl caliber team if, in fact, they can get there. Cam Newton puts them over the top. So when he's right, when he's 100%, he will be back as a starter for the Panthers.
All right, and then finally, Aaron Rodgers will win the NFL MVP. It's an interesting week to ask the question, coming off his 6-touchdown performance against Oakland, where he ran one in and threw 5 to 5 different receivers. Pete Prisco, trick or treat?
I'm going to say that's a treat right now. And the reason I say that, look, I was all in on Russell Wilson. I thought he was the guy. He had been playing so well, and then he kind of laid an egg at home against the Ravens, and Rodgers went off. And I think Rodgers is just starting to get the feel of that offense. He wasn't comfortable with it. He's comfortable with it now, and he's doing it without even having Davante Adams on the field the last couple weeks. So I think that's a treat. I think he will win the MVP because he's going to have a great record.
I couldn't agree more. You know, I go back to a conversation I had with Davante Adams at the Pro Bowl, and I said, is Rodgers going to have a bounce-back MVP season? And he said, absolutely. And so you just look at the way that it's taken a little bit of time, but Pete hit it on the head. You're seeing the MVP candidates now sort of take a step back. Mahomes with the injury, Russell Wilson with a bad game at home and a tough loss against the Ravens. I don't think Lamar Jackson's quite there yet, and I don't think it's going to be Christian McCaffrey. So you're looking at the candidates right now with the record that the Packers have and the fact that now is the point where Rodgers can start to take off because the offense is starting to come together. And as Pete said, once Davante Adams comes back, that's the missing piece to all those stats starting to fall into place. So fantasy-wise, NFL-wise, MVP-wise, if they win the NFC, which it looks like they have the strongest chance to do that, he will be the MVP of the NFL.